What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Beyond Cinema Podcast, Episode 4, presented by Neuway Media. My name is Brendan Grant, and as always, I'm joined by Chris Murray, and we've got a special guest today, our friend Connor Griffin, film score composer extraordinaire. And this episode, we wanted to talk to Connor all about his work as a composer, get a deeper scoop in his career field and all that stuff. So welcome, guys. What's going on?
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, this is our first episode actually having a guest, so it's going to be a little bit weird, all three of us trying to figure out exactly how this is going to work. But yeah, we're excited. We've been wanting to do this for a while. I feel like this quarantine thing is like sort of the silver lining is now we're actually starting to have guests because like Chris and I never really thought that, I don't know why, but we never really thought of like doing this whole thing like long distance. And now that we are, it's like more convenient for everybody. So hopefully we could do this more often.
It's perfect for me. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I'm in sweatpants. I'm chilling in my room.
Oh my.
And that's what I've been doing all day, and I love it. Minus the pandemic out, going on.
Is everyone healthy?
Yeah, still healthy.
Yeah, as far as I know.
We won't know, right? We'll never know if we're healthy.
I just got a mask yesterday that my grandma put together and mailed to me. So now I've got that, for when I want to go outside.
My mom just she mailed me 2 masks and my roommates 2 masks each too. So yeah, I'll have some of those cloth ones.
I feel like the Mrs. Grant masks are going to be real nice. If I know anything about your mom and how she is.
She said they're just black masks. I saw your mom was like doing some sewing too. She made her own as well.
Yeah, she's also sending me a mask. So I'm about to have a whole collection of them.
Nice.
And my roommate's Mike's mom is making masks also. So
that's good to hear that just like everyone is doing that.
Big mask making industry.
It's just kind of it's like scary hearing it seems like every week or every couple of days it like comes up to like another level of security now or like another advisory. It just increases and gets worse and worse. It's crazy like seeing the numbers of people getting sick are just still climbing like crazy. Like it's not slowing down at all still.
Yeah.
I know. Is it going to get to the point?
Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, is it going to get to the point where like everyone just gets it and whether you come out on the other side or not?
Oh God.
I think the important thing to remember when you look at the stats is that we're seeing everything kind of on a 2-week delay because the numbers we're hearing are the numbers of people who tested positively. Mm-hmm. So really it's all on a delay from like weeks or even a month ago is when everyone was getting sick.
So the numbers are even higher.
I mean, basically the number of people sick is actually a lot higher than the number of positive cases we have. But that also skews the severity of it a little bit because all the deaths you hear about, those are the people, like the people who are doing fine we don't hear about because they don't need to be tested because they feel fine. So that's why that's why the number of deaths compared to the number of positive cases is so high. Because those are the only people we're testing are the people that are in severe condition.
Mm-hmm. That's actually true. Yeah, people with like just a couple symptoms aren't actually tested just because they don't have enough tests.
Yeah, so, my roommate's friend is he has coronavirus.
Oh, geez.
But he feels generally all right, and he didn't even get tested. He had like a cough and like a mild fever. And he called his doctor on the phone, and his doctor was, without even testing, was like, "Yeah, you probably have it. Like, I'm very confident that it's coronavirus." He was like, "Just stay home and wait it out." And I think for them, it's not too severe, just kind of like a mild, fever, and in a couple of days to a week, it'll lighten up.
And that's what's so weird is just how, for some people, it can be so severe, and for others it could just be not a big deal.
Yeah.
Did you see that video of like the bus driver? I saw it this morning.
Oh, who was complaining about the coughing?
Yeah, there was like a lady on there, or somebody was on the bus, like open coughing without covering up, and he made like a video like really mad and complaining
The
about
bus
it.
driver did.
Yeah, yeah, like complaining about, you know, like not being respectful to the whole pandemic and everything. And he was like kind of getting choked up about it because he was like, people are dying, and like that just shows you don't have any regard. And then like it was like 4 days later, he like died from coronavirus.
4 days. So he already had it basically at that point.
The guy that made the video.
Yeah,
Yeah.
4 or 5 days
Oh my
Yeah, that's
god.
later.
crazy.
I didn't even know that. I like came into the thing late, so I was watching it, and I was just listening to this guy, and I was like, "Oh yeah, damn, this dude has a point. This is a good video." And then all of a sudden, I heard like the aftermath. I was like, "What? He fucking died? That's crazy."
Damn.
Anyway, let's talk about fun stuff, guys.
Yeah,
All I'm seeing like on just everywhere on the news, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram is just all coronavirus. I just want to talk about other things. Um, so Connor, the reason we have you on this episode is because you're a film composer, and we want to hear more about like what it is you do. So, well, let's back up because I don't know.
I feel like
Nobody really would
no
know this.
story of my trajectory as a film composer would be complete without going back to how the two of us kind of got started as
Exactly.
filmmakers.
That's yeah. You're one step ahead of me. So what's that? Can you tell the story?
Oh, okay. I'll tell the
I
story.
mean, like all the way back, like how you and I met and how like
I'll
we both got into
go.
filmmaking.
I will go all the way back to the very beginning. Brendan and I were friends in elementary school, and we got interested in filmmaking, and we made a film in sixth grade together that was like a parody of Willy Wonka.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
yeah, and that was like the early beginnings. We started there, and we did a mostly parody stuff at first. I feel like we did a
Yeah.
lot of parody stuff in middle school, and it was in high school that I feel like things kind of took off, and that was when we started doing things that were more original. And in all that time, as we were making films together in high school, I I tended to write the music to those short films, which was just something that I did because I grew up listening to a lot of film scores, especially, of course, things like John Williams, and I loved that music. And ironically, me composing for our films was also kind of born out of my desire not to break the law. Because when I learned like what copyright infringement was, and then
Oh
I
yeah.
found out like at some point I remember discovering like that you can't use any old music in a film because it belongs to someone else. And I was really afraid that I was going to get in trouble if I used other people's music. And of course, like in my kid brain, I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to have to make my own then.
It's so cool. Like when, I mean, for all intents and purposes, we weren't making money off those films, so it didn't matter. But to
Oh
us, we
yeah,
thought
it
it did.
totally didn't matter. But in
But
my head,
it's
it did. I thought it was important.
but that's cool. Like not a lot of people would have that mindset. Like I don't like I can't get it, so I'm gonna teach myself how to make it. Like that's daunting. And that's I mean,
I can't even believe that's how it started looking back, but it really did come out of that. I was just like, well, someone's got to make some music. And I was, we were both in band together as
yeah.
well in school. And so I already could read music and I played some instruments and I had an interest in it. And, and I also, you know, I'm sure you remember this, Brendan, but in middle school, I did a lot of playing around in GarageBand with music from different video games.
Right. Yeah.
And even though I wasn't writing the music, I was manipulating, like I especially a lot of stuff from Pokemon because I was a total nerd and I loved Pokemon music in middle school. And I would take those songs and then I would create new versions of them with like the orchestra or something,
Right.
which I did because that
What's the
was
word for that? Not
um,
not composing, but when you like rework something.
arranging.
Arranging, yeah. You did a lot of
Yeah.
arrangements, but like,
And I would do that because it was like that was what I wanted to hear. Like I liked that music, but it's all like chiptune Game Boy sounds,
right,
and I was
exactly.
like, man, I like kind of want to listen to this music, but like make it sound like a film score. And then I just played around in GarageBand and sort of started to get into creating my own arrangements of those songs.
Yeah,
GarageBand was the best back in the day, man. I would
It
spend hours
was,
up all night on GarageBand making like
and
12-minute long piano symphonies. Like,
and I didn't actually have a Mac back then, so I had to wait until my mom finished work, and
mm-hmm.
then I could get on her iMac like at night or on like the weekend, and that was when I would play around in GarageBand.
Yeah, for me, I didn't have a Mac either. My friend Jason, his mom had a Mac, like one of those OG iMacs. So it was like
Mm.
the one with the see-through back.
oh
She had
yeah.
like a red one, red see-through back, and she had it on there. And so if I would sleep over, I would like strive to stay up later than everybody and wait till like so if everyone fell asleep, I could get on the computer and do GarageBand all night.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
GarageBand is so intimidating to me which is funny because it's a pretty simple program, but like even now as an adult trying to go on there and like figure out how to put something together besides just like copying and pasting loops and stuff in is super hard. It just doesn't come naturally to me. So I'm like, I was always super impressed. And Connor, with your arrangement thing, it's like what you said, you were taking like an 8-bit song and turning it into this like full orchestral piece that sounded like it was recorded by real like live instruments. And it just sounded like super cinematic and like realistic and quality like immediately, which was super cool.
I'm still earning YouTube ad revenue off of those videos.
That's awesome.
From like
How
10 years ago.
how many views do you have on them?
Oh, millions.
Most of them still, I don't know about millions, but
A
most
couple of
of the
them.
Pokemon ones have like, a couple 100,000 views for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, and they still get pretty consistent views, which is
Do you
insane.
get paper checks from YouTube, or are you?
No, well, YouTube only pays you when you hit $100, right? So
Mhm,
that's like their
mhm.
threshold. And it just comes in, I think it's through PayPal how I get it. Or maybe it's direct deposit. I don't remember, but like once every like year to year and a half, I hit the $100 threshold and I get like a little like $105 payment.
Mhm.
And it's always a surprise because I never check the Google AdSense thing.
Mhm.
So it's just like once a year, this nice little $100 check just like shows up in my bank account, and it's like
Mhm.
just like a nice little surprise.
Yeah. So when was like the first time you wrote your own song?
It was when in ninth grade, I
Okay.
made a film called Raiders of the Lost Equation.
Oh, that was the first song you ever wrote?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Sick.
it was the first film I ever scored. Um,
Right.
and it was because at the time I was like just getting into writing music, and I was taking music composition lessons, which I don't even know if you knew that I was doing that, but there was like this guy that my parents found who like came by once a week, and he'd do like an hour lesson on like music composition.
Yeah, I think I remember that you're
And it
doing
was
that.
sort of like a thing that he like kind of hodgepodged it together because he wasn't actually a music composition teacher. He was just like a music teacher who would do like instrument lessons with people.
Hmm.
But he knew that that's what I wanted to do. And since I was so young, he kind of like would teach me the basics. Um, and that was like my first assignment. I told him I was making that film, and he was like, well, in that case, what we're going to do is we're going to go through it scene by scene, and we'll score it.
Wow, that's awesome.
So I think the version of the film that was originally finished and put on YouTube, and the one that we played at school, had music from Indiana Jones in it
Oh, okay.
because it was a parody film of
Right.
Indiana
It was a
Jones.
parody of Indiana Jones. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just put music from Indiana Jones in it. Um, and so and so in those lessons, what we did is we would look at the scene and we'd listen to the music that I had put in there. In a way, it's almost like temp music,
Right.
like how you treat temp music in a film, like if I was scoring a film today. But at the time, I didn't know about that yet, and so I wasn't thinking of it that way. But I would look at the piece of music from Indiana Jones that was in the scene, figure out why that piece of music worked for that particular scene, and then I just kind of tried to emulate it in uh, my own style in GarageBand.
Just kind of deconstruct it almost.
Yeah, as best as a ninth grader can. I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
it ended up being like a little rough or like very close to the original music from Indiana Jones, but yeah, that was the first film I ever scored.
And that even like that happens in the industry today. Like I remember you sent me a video once of I forget what composer it was being interviewed about a film he composed, and he was literally talking about how they gave him temp music and told him to like make something that sounded very similar but wasn't the same, so they wouldn't get copyright.
Oh yeah, that happens all the time. It's even
Which is
happened to
that's
me.
crazy. Oh, that yeah. I mean, I've done that to you.
Yeah, I was actually
So
gonna say you did that in
yeah,
one of this in Air Venture, I think,
yep, yeah. The
um,
documentary.
on where
Yeah,
you were like, just make it like Interstellar.
yeah, right. So I had a temp song, and I was like, like I literally edited the scene like beat for beat to the song, and I was like, all right, your song needs to match each edit, each cut.
Yeah,
I
you're a dangerous filmmaker to work with for me sometimes because
oh yeah,
I know you and I know how you edit and I know that you like to edit to the music.
yeah.
And
It's really hard for me
that
not
makes
to.
my job harder, even though I think it a lot of times you have a good sense of rhythm and you're good at cutting to the music and it works well in the end product. But it makes my job harder.
Right. I've always wondered that though, like how do how does that work with other editors? Like, are other editors like not even editing with music, like temp music, and then they go to the composer and they're just editing based off their own sense of internal rhythm and the visual rhythm of the shots? Or like, do you see any of that? Like, let's jump. We'll get back, but let's jump ahead to like Sherwood, because I feel like that was like a
Okay.
for you like a big project that was a big industry project and professional and stuff. So like, what was that like?
I should give a little context of what
Yeah, yeah.
Sherwood is too. So Sherwood is a YouTube premium series that came out last year. I think it was last year. Yeah, like last March, I think. And it's an animated series that was like a sci-fi future twist on Robin Hood. And they also do like a gender bent thing where Robin Hood is a girl named Robin, um, and I was what we call an additional music composer, which you can kind of think of as like almost an assistant composer on that show. So the main composer on the show was Jacob Yaffe, who's a
Hmm.
composer that I've helped out a couple of times. And additional music composers are a pretty common thing, especially in TV, because TV shows move so quickly and they have very tight deadlines. Sometimes you only have a couple of days for an entire episode of a show. And
Damn.
quite frankly, one human being can't always necessarily do it. So it's really common for TV composers to bring on additional composers to pick up some of the slack. And so I was one of three people that worked on Sherwood under Jacob Yaffe.
Okay,
So
right.
yeah, so I had sort of like I had a PDF of the different themes for each character that like the hero's theme, the bad guy's theme, this other side characters, and then I would get a scene and I would get a little bit of like a brief of here's what we're going for in this scene, this is what we're thinking musically. Sometimes the scenes would have temp music, and sometimes they wouldn't. And then I would just have to kind of go to town and score my scene using the themes that the main composer had already written,
Right.
manipulating them to make sense and flow in the given scene. And yeah, that was kind of a
That's cool.
long intro to the show, but that's the gist of what I was doing on that show.
Right. And
And
I
I
feel like that's
totally forget what your question was.
no, you answered it. I feel like that was it's kind of interesting because it was animated. So when you're talking about like shot length and the flow and the pacing of it, that's almost like decided from the very beginning when they're like storyboarding it, you know?
Oh yeah.
And it's not like the editors like work in a different way, you know? They're not like every single frame of the movie is animated, but nothing more than that is animated, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's a little bit different in terms of using a temp song, like matching to a temp song, or just animating it from scratch to be the exact pacing you want and then putting the music in. So that's kind of cool, like when you think about it that way.
Yeah, and that project was an interesting challenge as well because as it was an animated show, the animation was oftentimes not done yet by the
Oh,
time we
right.
needed to start writing music for it. So we would get scenes that would be a combination of like you would get randomly you'd have one shot that's fully animated and lit and textured and looks like polished, and then the very next shot would be like a grayscale like rough blocking of the characters.
Whoa.
uh, every once in a while you'd get a shot that would just be like a drawing or
Just like a
something.
still image.
Yeah, or it would be a black frame with text saying like Robin jumps on this building and does a flip
Oh,
or
damn. That's
something like
crazy.
that. Yeah,
That's nuts. Cool.
yeah.
Um, so awesome. Do you want to like back up again and just go back to like let's go back to college because I feel like in college you still I mean, you always loved music composition, but I feel like when we first went to college, we went to the same college, just so everybody knows. But like
Neuway
even as like a
Media.
freshman and a sophomore and everything, like you sort of wanted to be a director still, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like you
It's
didn't quite
it's so
know.
funny how things shifted over the course of college. Like
Hmm.
when we first got to Temple, I think I was still pretty set on like I am going to be a director, and like that's the plan, and that's what I'm doing.
Hmm.
And as time went on, I think I shifted a few times. Like at one point, I was like, well, I could be an editor also. And then at another point, I was thinking of going into cinematography.
David
Um,
Perry represent.
that
Yeah, that was the moment in
it's
David Perry's
yeah,
class.
yeah. It's funny because that was the class that set me on the course to do music. Because Chris, we were in the class together, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I was
I
in it
can't
for a whole
remember for a
year.
minute. Yeah,
I did
I
like the
took.
part one and two, but
Did I
part
only
two
do
turned
part
out to
one?
be just part one again.
I wasn't,
He just
I
did it
wasn't
for one,
originally,
I guess, not
I
for a whole
wasn't
year.
originally gonna say the name of the professor, but since you already said it,
Oh no, it's fine. We drop names all the time on this show.
well, yeah.
That's how we
So
roll.
I took that class with you, Chris, and
Hmm.
I think what kind of like did it for me was like we'd be sitting in that class and Dave Perry would be talking about like certain lenses or something, and then everyone would be geeking out over like this and that gear. And
Hmm.
it just kind of hit me at one point that I like didn't care. Like I just wasn't I didn't have the same interest in camera gear as everyone
Yeah.
else. And then I like just thought about it over the course of the semester, and I was like, I think this means that this is not what I'm interested in. And
Hmm.
it's one of those things where you can't figure that out until you dive into it a little more.
Yeah,
So
totally.
yeah. And when I figured that out, that was when I was like, you know what? Maybe like music is the thing to do. Um,
See, at the same time though, you don't like have to give in to the gear. You could still just create content the way you want to create it, right?
that's true.
With whatever, even if you want to just shoot things on a phone.
And I actually feel like I am that way as a filmmaker and as a composer. I've never been like a huge gear guy, other than like I know I'm like obsessed with Apple, but that's like a whole nother thing that's separate from gear for me. But
Which is hilarious because when I met you and because we all used to live together in Philadelphia,
yeah.
when we first moved into the View, like you were not on the Apple bandwagon at all.
Oh no, I was like a gung ho Microsoft guy. I
Yeah,
was like
I think
Windows
me
10
and
is
Jake were like
great,
the
and
only
like
two. We were the only Mac users.
yeah, that's right, because Brendan had Brendan, you had that like tank of a
The
laptop.
Yeah, I
Dell.
had the Dell XPS, whatever. Yeah.
It was like
That
a
thing,
17-inch.
Yeah,
it
that
was
thing was a
like
monster.
20 pounds.
It overheated and like the
It
fan
had
was loud as
it
hell.
had the big heat sink add-on.
Yeah,
No, that was
you
the
had that
battery.
base for it.
That big base thing. Oh yeah, you're talking about the base
Didn't you
with
have
the
like a
little
base
Yeah,
with a
grooves.
underneath.
built-in fan?
Yeah, that was a monster. That was a workhorse though. That got me through like so much rotoscoping and motion tracking like freshman year.
Yeah, and I had that like monster desktop too, that PC.
Yeah, the
Dude,
Stormtrooper basically.
that thing
Yeah.
was as tall as a desk.
It was like
I can't
24 inches
believe
tall.
I can't believe I kept that huge computer for so long, and it survived so many moves. Like
Yeah.
it moved like 6 or 7 times, like 4 years of college in a row to a different place every year, then out to Los Angeles, and then I think then finally I sold it. But yeah,
Does Mike have it? Did you give it to him or?
no, I sold it to this guy who does music for trailers
Hmm.
because his wife needed a PC.
Hmm.
Oh.
So isn't that random? So I don't even know what happened to it, but I know it. I know that his wife took it and she was using it to. I
So the
think she
whole
was
thing,
doing
the tower
editing.
and everything.
Just the tower. I still have the monitor.
Sweet.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know something I want to talk about. This is like totally different off topic, but it just popped in my head how kind of funny this is. The first episode of Beyond Cinema, Chris and I were talking about how like in school, in college, we were both so gung ho about moving to LA, and we
Uh-huh.
had a really difficult time convincing anybody else to like want to come with us. And then it like years later, we were the last of our friend group to come here. But like,
Oh
so I want
yeah.
to talk to you. You were like the first one to come out to LA, despite us, like, despite not wanting to come out to LA for so many years. What
I
was the
don't. I
decision that
don't
made you
want.
do that?
At first, I just want to say I don't want you to ever forget, Brendan, the time that you told me
Oh, here
that
we
if
go.
I didn't
I know
move to
this.
LA, that I was giving up.
Well, you did move to LA.
It all
I don't
worked
even
out in
remember
the
saying
end.
that.
Yeah, it was when you guys were both in the LA program that summer, and or was it summer or spring, whatever, when you were doing the LA program, and I was like, we were getting ready to graduate, and I was like iffy on like what I was gonna do. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna move to LA, especially not with a job lined up. And you were like, Connor, if you don't move to LA, then that means you've given up.
Yeah, I can like vaguely remember having that mentality, but that's honestly
Hmm.
how me and Chris felt.
I mean, honestly, like, who knows how it would have went if you stayed in Philly? You
Oh
know.
yeah. Well, anyway, let's get to your question. So you what was it again? You wanted me to
And,
talk
well,
about how I got
you
here?
you came out, you decided to come out here, and now you love it, and you tell me like you can't imagine being anywhere else, which I think
Oh
is
yeah.
like it's just really interesting, and like people who are in the same boat as we were, like I feel like that experience will be good for them to hear.
Yeah. Well, my LA story is kind of funny because a lot of it really came down to like chance, but I guess that's how a lot of people's stories sort of go.
Yeah, true.
Um, I also did that semester in LA like you guys did. And I remember while I was out here that summer, for starters, I hated it here. I actually really didn't like it at all.
That's
Like
right. You
I
came back. You're not about it.
Yeah, I didn't like the weather. It was like gross and hot, and I don't really like the heat. Uh, a big thing too. I think this was actually like half of the problem. I didn't go in the same semester as like any of my friends. So I
Uh,
was out here like essentially by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys that I was rooming with were people I like really didn't know very well. And so
And
yeah.
and you rushed the study away your junior year so you could do senior projects your senior year, correct?
Yeah, that I did that on purpose because I knew that I wanted to do senior projects. I knew I wanted to do that thesis to kind of
Mm-hmm.
wrap up college. Yeah, and I figured it would be good to like jump out here, check it out for a bit, come back to wrap up college, and then come back out. But
and
yeah,
honestly,
so
actually, just to agree with you there, like I feel like the first time I went to LA for our study away program, I wasn't too hot about it either when we left. It was a place I saw as like something that you needed to do, but a lot of it I didn't like. Like a lot of Los Angeles feels like sort of fake to me, and it still does. You know, it doesn't
mhm.
have the rich history that the East Coast does, which I love so much. It doesn't have the four seasons that I love so much. You know, I miss the weather, which is funny because it's such beautiful weather here, and it's like hard to complain about it always being beautiful and sunny. But something about it, like when the just blue skies constantly, it just gets
Mm-hmm.
sort of monotonous, and it just feels like, um, you just miss the clouds. But I will say, after moving here and spending more time here, it's not what my original impression was. So it's
You
kind of interesting.
definitely adjust to the weather, I think.
Yeah,
Because
you
like I
learn to love
said,
it.
when I first came out here that summer, I just absolutely hated it, and I was like, it's like gross and hot all the time, and just and I missed like the rain and the cold. But now that I've been here for a couple of years, this is now normal to me. And when I go home for Christmas, I'm like, oh my God, it's freezing cold here. Why would
Yeah.
anyone want to deal with this?
Every time I fly to the East Coast for a gig, it's always significantly colder, it feels like, than where I just came from.
Yeah, like our last Christmas when I went home, I remember, or two Christmases ago, it was consistently like 15 degrees in Pennsylvania for the whole
Oh
week
my
that I was
god.
home. And I don't miss that at all. You know, the one thing I do miss though, thunderstorms. There's never thunderstorms out
Yes.
here.
Yeah, I miss thunderstorms too.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to on my Amazon my Echo thing. You can play different soundscapes. So sometimes I'll play like rain and thunder and stuff,
Mm.
which like
It's
that
like that
helps a
scene
lot.
from Interstellar. He puts it in the
And
head.
I kind of miss a little bit of humidity. Throw a little humidity in right before a thunderstorm. Not too bad.
Yeah, and then the humidity breaks after it rains. That's always
Yeah,
so nice.
cools down. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Although it has been nice to find out, like this last month or so, that this time of year we always do get rain in LA, which is nice. So like,
Even it came even earlier. We've been getting so much rain.
yeah,
Like right after those fires, we were having a lot of fires, and then rain started, and then it's been kind of consistently raining. I mean, off and on, but like not too much of a break. You hear
Yeah, this is the time of year.
yep,
I've been saying to Brendan
that?
because I know Chris, you've been here and back a number of times. I know Chris, but like now
Like
that
4 or
you're
5
kind of like
times.
permanently, now you're like here,
Hmm.
like for the long haul. This is the rainy season where it usually does rain for 2 straight weeks, like it did a couple weeks ago, and
Yeah.
then it like gets on and off a little bit, like it is right now and in the next couple weeks it'll stop raining and then like forget about it. It won't rain again until like November.
Yeah.
It's
We'll just
insane.
turn to summer. When's summer
Yeah,
come? It's got to be coming soon, right?
summer
Like
is coming in a couple
the
of
the
weeks.
heat, yeah, the heat of it.
Yeah, yeah, and then it'll just be that it'll be like in the 70s from like next week until you know until like August when it gets gross hot.
The weird thing about LA is, I mean, just like the how what am I trying to say here? How less frequent you see people than you think you're going to see them. when you're like, all right, we're all in LA now, but then
Because
you just
LA
realize
is
how
huge.
and everyone is busy and traffic is crazy, and yeah,
Yeah.
everyone kind of like stays in their bubble of neighborhoods. I've noticed you have
Yeah.
like your neighborhood
Especially
bubble.
right now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're in Hollywood and I'm in Van Nuys, and it's like in traffic, it's at least an hour drive. Whereas anywhere like in Philadelphia, even with traffic, would be like from one side of Philly to the other side, it would be like a half hour, you
Yeah,
know?
about half hour.
And
And
now
no
it's like,
traffic, it could be like 12 minutes.
yeah. So yeah, LA is like the greater LA area is like so huge,
Hmm.
and people are so spread out. There's not just like one little pocket that everybody lives in. So
Yeah.
yeah, everyone's just so
And we
spread
got
out.
people like our friend Dan all the way on Alhambra. It's like going to
Yeah.
visit him is like a trek.
I know. I want to like, because he often invites me over there, and it's just like, I still haven't made it happen, you know? I've been over there when I filmed that little project, but
Yeah.
yeah, like I haven't gone over there just to hang out.
Yeah, because to visit any friend, it's basically like a half a day commitment. It's like
It,
2 hours of driving out of your day gone.
I thought me living in Hollywood would be great. I'm like, I'm so central. I'll be close to everything and everyone. And it's like, I feel like I'm far from everyone
Oh yeah,
because everyone lives in the valley.
I was just telling
Yeah,
Connor about
yeah,
that
the Valley
on
people.
the phone the other day. I was telling him about how we had that gig in Santa Monica, and you're actually technically closer, but
Hmm.
your drive was like 20 minutes longer than my drive was.
It took me longer to get out of Hollywood because of all these road closures and
Yeah,
construction that was going on. So it took me 20 minutes just to get onto a highway to get out of Hollywood. So
Yeah,
that might have
yeah.
been unique to that specific morning.
yeah,
Santa
true.
I
Monica
don't
from
know.
Hollywood is difficult because there's no direct freeway connection to get you there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you kind of got to ride through inner city traffic for a while, and
Yeah.
that's with all those lights. It's like game over. Those lights are so long.
And Brendan, you can just cruise right down the 405 and then you're there.
yeah, it's so nice being like just right next to the 405 exit. It's like it's a breeze. Driving anywhere feels like a breeze because you either get on the 405 or the 405 to the 101, and like basically those two directions is everywhere in the city.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even though there's a lot of traffic, it's like once you get on the road, you're basically just driving straight for 20 miles. So you might be driving slowly, but at least it's not like you don't have to think hard about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas like driving in New York is like there's a lot of traffic, but it's like active driving.
I loved the location of my old apartment in Sherman Oaks.
Oh yeah, I love
It was
like that
like
area.
so central to like the part of the valley that I like, and it was right by the freeway entrance for the 101, which is just like,
Hmm.
ah, I want to go back down there so badly.
Yeah, I'd
the
really like to live in like the Burbank area or Sherman Oaks.
the cool thing about Hollywood though is like I could go walk like 5 minutes over to Mel's Diner, have a meal, and then come outside to like one of my favorite bands, Fanagram, playing a live show across the street for Jimmy Kimmel, and then it's like, all right, I'll just walk across the street and listen to this live show, and then
Yeah,
walk
dude.
home, and that's just like a normal night.
That was crazy when our favorite band Fanagram, we knew they were playing at this show, but we didn't realize, I don't think either of us realized it was going to be like an outdoor show, and that the Jimmy Kimmel like place, like the studio is like a couple blocks from where you live.
Oh yeah, it's
So
like right on
that's just
Highland.
crazy. I can't imagine that, like coming out after just eating and
Yeah.
hearing your favorite band playing live like a couple blocks away and being like, "Wait, what?"
I was literally just talking about like sitting down after post meal saying like I really need to see a live show because I was going to see stand up. And
Yeah.
I was like, I really need to see a live show. Like all the stand up's been great because like I love it, but I need like music, like a live music show. It's been a while. And then I walk outside and Fanagram's playing. I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like in Hollywood is where you get most of those like only in Los Angeles type of moments.
Mm-hmm.
My brothers came to visit and I took them to Hollywood Boulevard for like the first time. Like, all right, let's all walk over there in the morning and see what's up. And first time turning onto Hollywood Boulevard, we walk onto like 50 Cent getting his star
Oh
Walk
yeah.
of Fame, and Dr. Dre's there, Eminem's there.
Wow.
That's
It's
crazy.
crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah, and getting to be by all the comedy like the comedy store and like all those places basically within
Yeah.
like a short drive or walkable distance is super cool.
Plenty
So
of easy ways to spend your money down here.
yeah,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
definitely jealous of all that. Up in like Van Nuys, there's nothing. So
Hey, that's where ILM started.
yeah, I mean,
ILM
yeah,
was in Van
technically.
Nuys?
Yeah, the first like warehouse thing they had, the garage. It was in Van Nuys.
Damn.
Yeah, and it's still
It's
pretty cheap
cool.
out. I mean, it's very cheap out here, so that's the benefit.
I know.
So
I see that rent's like I guess dropping or showing to drop. Who knows?
like
Oh, because
like
of
in all of California, or
Like just trends showing like rent. I think dropped like 0.5% or something like that.
oh,
good, good.
yeah. I mean, that's yeah,
The sooner I
good.
can go down to Valley Vista, the better. That's like I've got a laser focus right now. Valley Vista. That's
Where's
where or
that?
Studio. It's like basically Studio City.
Oh,
Or do
okay.
you mean what's Valley Village? Is that
Wait,
the same
Valley
thing?
Village is what I meant to
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Yeah, that
I
I
like
guess I
Valley
don't
Vista
have that much of
better.
a laser
Let's
eye.
change the name. Valley
I think
Vista is way
Valley Vista
better.
might be something else. Valley
Definitely
Vista.
You
sounds
should
like
make
yeah.
if you should like get one of those like lanes where it's your own street and then you can make it Valley Vista Street. Valley Vista Lane.
Oh, that's what it is. Valley Vista is a road in the
Ah,
Ah,
valley. Valley Vista Boulevard.
they're one step
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, anyway, I'd like to live in that area. You
Mm,
know,
I don't
that's
know. I
really
don't
cool.
know where I want to live next. West Hollywood, maybe. I don't know.
yeah. I'd be
West
down for
Hollywood.
like Studio City area.
West Hollywood, you got to
Definitely.
watch out for the parking though. The parking is just absolutely insane.
Yeah, that's true. Remember, like we tried to go to Salt and Straw for Jake, and like it takes like laps
Oh
to find a
yeah,
spot.
that's like all of West Hollywood. Everything is very because technically West Hollywood is a separate city from Los
Hmm.
Angeles. They have their own laws, like entirely independently, and
Damn.
they have very strict parking and traffic laws down there. Like that was where I got that red light camera ticket
Mm.
for
Oh, they got you.
$490
Holy crap.
for turning right on red without fully stopping first.
And West
Only in
Hollywood was
West
also
Hollywood.
that was also where you got the ticket for not turning your wheels when you parked, right?
Uh-huh. I parked on a hill and I didn't turn my wheels and I got a ticket for like $30, I think.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Whoa, wait! You have to turn your wheels? I
Yeah,
mean,
you have to give
I
them a
just
ticket.
Apparently.
do it, but you have to do it. Interesting.
That was why I got the ticket. I thought the same thing. I was aware that that was a thing that you're supposed to turn
Hmm.
your wheels, but I didn't know that it was a law. And I also like had a group of people in the car, and I wasn't thinking about it. So I put my parking brake on, being like,
Yeah,
well, I'm on a hill, so I'll do this. And then I come back to a ticket because they're like, yeah, your wheels weren't turned a 45-degree angle, like
crazy.
towards the street or whatever.
Are you fully licensed up for California? Like you made the full conversion, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, at this point, I'm like going on my fourth year, right?
Yeah, you've been here a
It's
long
been a
time at this
while.
point. Yeah. I'm like stressing about that right now. Don't want to talk about Corona again, but just for a second. Because of
We
this whole
have
thing,
to.
like
It's the whole world right now. You can't avoid it.
Yeah, and people like to hear it, honestly.
yeah.
It's good
um,
content.
Yeah,
but it's just
and
it's
perspective. People like to hear different perspectives.
just complaining about not being able to get my driver's license updated because the DMVs.
Well, someone out there is like, "Hey, me too."
And
Yeah.
it makes it even worse because it's like I'm what do they call that? I'm not on my lease right now. Um,
Yeah,
sub sub
what are you squatting,
no sub what do they call it? Sub renting,
Subleasing?
subletting?
subletting. So because I don't technically have my name on a lease, it's like harder to like confirm my residency, which makes it harder to get my license, which makes it harder to register my car. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
there's like 3 or 4 things that are all backed up because I'm still like waiting on getting my name on the lease, which is going to happen at the end of May. So it's like, and my
You're
like
getting
car
there.
inspection is due at the
Oh,
end of May.
are you signing like a year lease in May?
In May, the lease for our place ends, and then it turns into a month-to-month lease.
Okay.
So we're gonna sign back onto it, and then it's a shorter term thing, which is kind of nice, like more freedom that way. But
So
eventually,
it's going to stay month to month?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you need to show your proof of residence to get a license?
To get a license, yeah.
Hmm.
And then to
Can't
register
that just
your
be as
car.
simple as like a credit card bill, though, or no?
Well,
Yeah, but I don't have any of
if
those.
you want to get a real ID license, which
Oh yeah,
you generally
they're more
should, because
strict.
those are the ones you need to
Yeah,
fly
yeah. I
now.
mean, yeah. I mean, you can
They
use your
have more
passport,
strict
but
requirements. Yeah, if you have a
Hmm.
passport, you're good. But yeah, the real ID, there's like a list of documents. You have to bring like 2 proofs of residency. You have to bring a proof of your social security number, and a proof of your something else, proof
Can't
of income.
technically anybody generate a lease agreement? So like your roommate could technically just get a lease and fill it in for you, or no?
I mean, yeah, probably I'd be able to get away with it. I mean, because they just glance at it. But that
I don't
just,
know.
you know me, I'm like weird when it comes to that stuff. And it's like,
But
it's not like the DMVs
yeah,
are.
I'm not offering anyone to do that. Any advice for anyone to
Yeah.
do that? Do
It's
not. I'm
it's
not saying it works. I'm asking.
it's not like the DMVs are closed, but they're technically you can only make an appointment to go in, so that way they don't get backed up. But I still feel like I don't
I
want
don't
to
even think you
go.
can go in. I think they're completely closed down, aren't they, for indoor? I think
I don't know
everything's
about.
online now.
Well, I heard there are some situations that you need to go in person, like if you need to register your car or get a license, like a photo ID.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so
Here
for
you
those
go.
situations,
I have the official answer.
yeah,
Uh,
I mean, I was looking this up the other day.
Here you
Come on
go.
in.
The DMV, California DMV, provides essential services through mail right now. Field offices are
Yeesh.
temporarily closed to the public starting March 27th. All appointments have been canceled and no appointments are available.
Oh shit! Well, that's different from what I read.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, they're
So
done. Mail, that's the worst way.
Mm-hmm.
and mail, you can't get like I can't get a photo ID through the mail because they have to take my photo, which means I
Yeah.
just can't. I
Yeah,
just
I think they have
literally.
something online about that. I looked into it. I think there's like a workaround.
All right, maybe I'll look into that.
I could be wrong, but I think I read something like that.
But luckily, I think they are delaying all due dates by like 60 days. So technically, I have until like July to update all this stuff. So
I
Like
did
for
my
registration and
taxes.
stuff.
yeah, I mean taxes are fine.
So everyone knows like to get your return whatever to
Yeah,
make
yeah,
sure the direct deposit for your tax return matches. That's where it's going to go.
yeah.
Yeah, I did my taxes a while back actually. I'm like an early bird every year with mine.
Cool. So
I
yeah, you're
usually
good.
do them like February 1st. Like as soon as I get those
Oh wow.
1099s that I'm missing, and sometimes I have actually even filed before I've gotten all the 1099s. If I know what the numbers are going to be, I'll just like plow forwards
Yeah,
and
I
do
mean, I
it.
think the law is if you don't get the 1099 by January 30th, then you don't need to file them, and it's
Yeah.
not on you. Then the onus is on the employer.
Yes,
So
that's
that's kind of
usually what
cool.
I do. I throw mine together. I made my sister do her. I made her do her taxes this week, so she'll get a check.
Nice, cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's talk
okay,
about
well,
music.
yeah, let's talk about music again. Can we talk about? I think one of the coolest stories you have is Miss Barton's famous cakes, and your process working on that, because I feel like that's been, I don't know, in the last year probably one of your best works and most exciting projects you've gotten to do.
Well, thank you. I'm proud of it as well. Yeah, sure. We can talk about that.
Cool.
Well, Miss Barton's Famous Cakes is a short film that I worked on last year, directed by the wonderful Jared Hirsch, and
Seriously, can't say enough nice things about Jared.
I believe it is also co-directed by Nelson Veason. But I actually have to check that. but Jared is the one that I mostly was working with. And yeah, Jared's a fantastic filmmaker. He's a classmate of ours from Temple, and I've been working with him on most of his short films in the last couple of years, which I'm excited about. I'm hoping that trend will continue, and I know that he's already got another film in the pipeline that I'm booked to compose on that later this year. But yeah, so Miss Barton. Um, it's a black and white film. It's a mystery, and it's shot and edited in such a way, and acted in such a way that it emulates like the Twilight Zone and those kinds of old TV shows and Hitchcock films as well. And so Jared wanted a score that fit that tone and that time period. And so in preparation for that project, what I actually did, I don't usually go through this much trouble for short films, frankly, but for this film, I came up with sort of a demo for Jared that I created after spending like a good 2 weeks watching like a ton of Twilight Zone episodes, and I watched like a whole bunch of Hitchcock films. I watched Psycho, I watched Vertigo, and a couple other ones, and I put together a list of the things musically that I identified in all those works. And incidentally, the composer on the Twilight Zone is also Bernard Herrmann, is also a composer for most of Hitchcock's films.
Oh, I
So
never knew that.
yeah. So
Whoa, that's cool.
by watching Twilight Zone and Hitchcock films, really I was studying Bernard Herrmann's music,
Okay,
because he's
cool.
kind of like the guy that has that sound for those old mystery, films, suspense films. So yeah, so I created a list essentially of like what are the key sounds and key techniques that he used that are like the signature things that if you hear it, you'll instantly know, oh, this is like Twilight Zone or something. And
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have the whole list, in front of me, but I remember like among other things, um, his melodies, like they tend to move in stepwise motion, which for non-musical people means like instead of the melodies jumping, like a melody that leaps would be like Star Wars, where you go bum bum, and it's like a jump da 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 da, and
Right.
you've got big jumps in there. Bernard Herrmann stuff was all very like da na 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 na, like all close together. The notes are close
Oh, okay.
together, and so they move by smaller amounts. We call it like stepwise motion.
Huh.
Um, and there's a lot of harp and vibraphones. Vibraphones are they sort of it sort of looks like a xylophone, but the little the keys are made of metal, and you hit them with mallets, and they kind of ring out like bells. There's a lot of that in those scores, um, and there's a lot of like repeating hypnotic like ideas. So I took all those different things and I put them together into like a 5 minute long just stream of consciousness. Like here's me doing Bernard Herrmann for 5 minutes, and then I sent it to Jared, and I was like, "Is this like what we're going for?" And Jared loved it, and that was the
Nice.
point where he was like, "Yeah, okay, we're definitely going to use you for this film, and you've like hit the nail on the head with what we want." And
Sick.
a number of ideas that were in that 5 minute sketch ended up making it into the actual short film score as well.
That's cool. That's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. I didn't realize you did that before he had like officially technically hired you. That's like pretty hardcore. It took a lot
Yeah.
of preemptive work.
I don't normally, like I said, I don't normally do that kind of stuff, frankly, just because short films are short films, and usually you're not really getting paid enough to like take the extra time to
Right. Yeah.
do that kind of like background work beforehand. But as soon as I saw the film, I could tell, like, it's a fantastic short film.
Yeah,
And
it's honestly, we'll link to Miss Barton's Famous Cakes in the description of this, whether it's on YouTube or SoundCloud if we can, or like wherever we post this, so people can go watch it and listen. But yeah, it's super good.
yeah, as soon as I saw it, I could just tell. I was like, this is a project that I want to be a part of. The acting, like, you could tell that everyone was on their A game. The actors, the cinematographer, the like everything. Um, so that was why I put in the extra time to go the extra mile on that. And of course,
Right. Yeah.
now Jared is expecting that of me every time because he asked me to do the same thing on the next short film.
Oh, geez. Managing expectations.
Yeah, but that's fine. And
But it's worth it
also,
because yeah, now he basically wants to hire you for everything. So it's sort of a given that you'll get the project regardless, but he wants to hear what your ideas are, I guess.
it also makes the composing process go more smoothly because
Hmm.
the like a quote that I heard, this one composer, I'm trying to remember the name of what his name was, but oh, Alan Silvestri. He's done, you probably don't know his name, but you've probably heard Forrest Gump, or he's done Avengers. He did The Polar Express. He's done all sorts of like family kind of oriented movies. But
Yep.
he
Yep.
said in an interview once, the composing process is like, it's like a logarithmic, or like a parabola. I think he said, like it exponentially goes up. If you were to graph like the amount of music being written over time, for like the first couple weeks of a film, like nothing is getting written,
Mm.
because it takes such a long time to go through that process of finding the film musically. Finding what story am I telling, and what sounds am I using to tell it, and what melodies am I going to use to tell it. And it's only once you've laid all those foundational things that suddenly, like, then the music comes out of your brain, and all of a sudden the whole film is scored in like no time at all.
Huh. That's
So
cool.
there's always like an inbuilt period of time, when even on a short film, where you have to kind of sit around and like tool around for a while at the keyboard before you find something that you want to move forward with. And doing those sketches for Jared gives me a chance to get that out of the way ahead of time. And then when it's
Right.
time to do the film, I'm like, well, I've got the sound, I've got the basic ideas, and I can work off of those.
Would you say like in a perfect world, is that sort of the way you prefer working? Like if you know you're going to be making like a lot of money off the project and stuff, like is that the workflow that works best for you, like when collaborating with directors?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. It helps me a ton.
Hmm.
And if I had the patience, and also if I, like you said, if I was getting paid enough
Right.
to be
Yeah.
able to spend the time to do that, yeah, I think that it pays off to take the time and to just flesh out ideas. It's almost like the musical equivalent of if you were doing like a lookbook or something,
Right. Or like in
or like
cinematography, like we do like
yeah.
test shoots, like and lighting tests and stuff, which is stuff that I've never really had the luxury of being able to do, but they do that on big budget projects.
Hmm.
So what was the process like working with Jared once you were like once you actually had the the picture lock uh, film and you were actually like writing out each scene, um, and you and also tell me about how cool it was getting to do the live harp recording and all that stuff.
Oh, the live harp was huge. Yeah. I knew from the beginning, working on that film, that it needed a live instrument element in it somewhere, because normally on short films, there's no budget to go hiring musicians to play anything. So it's all what we call in the box, meaning like it's all in the computer,
Uh,
software, instruments, and not, nothing live recorded. But on this film, we did have a little bit of extra time and a little bit of extra budget. I had to fight for it, though. I'll say that. Uh, Jared didn't want to do that, and I did like a test recording with the harpist, who is our high school friend Braden's wife, incidentally. And I played that test for Jared. Like, I did a side by side, and I was like, here it is with the software harp, and here it is with the real harp, and it's like a night and day difference. It sounds so much better.
Right.
And once Jared heard that, he was like, oh, well, we're definitely like, yeah, we'll throw a couple extra, we'll throw some extra money in there so we can pay her to, to do that.
And I feel like that's that technique of collaborating and working out budgetary things and being able to like know how to request things that you need or want. It's like the exact same thing we do in cinematography. So I think that's kind of cool, like seeing the comparison between that. Like no matter whether it's you're doing music or cinematography or production design or whatever it is, like you need to be good at being able to like explain what you want and why. And it's not like it's not a bad thing to be asking for more money if you can just explain why and how you're going to use that money and like why it's going to be useful. And then ultimately, obviously, it's like the director's job or the producer's job to decide like how to allocate the money and like if that's useful. But it doesn't hurt. It never hurts to ask. And if you can explain how useful it would be and the reason that you need it, then it's awesome.
Yeah, you have to be able to demonstrate the value that you're adding to the film and to the story. And I think in this case, what that harp did is it just kind of locked in a little more, what am I trying to say? Like authenticity,
realism.
Yeah, like authenticity to the music, because so many other parts of the film were so like they were there, and it was like the performances were great. They were dead on for what it needed to be, the costume design, all that kind of stuff. And the last thing I wanted to do in a score like this, which has a lot of harp, like if the harp was there for a little bit, like if it popped up in one scene and disappeared, that's one thing. But this type of music, when you're doing this Twilight Zone and you have this hypnotic thing going on, that's played by the harp, and the harp is almost constant through the whole score. So it's a big part of the sound of the music, and you want it to be authentic sounding so that it fits in. It's like a puzzle piece that you want it to click in with the rest of the pieces of the film. Because when that happens is when a short film kind of like rises up. I feel like that's like what elevates the storytelling. It's when all the little pieces are in place and they mesh well together.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Brings it to that next level.
And I'll be the first to say that my scores are not always perfect matches like that. Like there definitely are some projects where you try your hardest and you listen to it and you're like, there's like something that's not quite clicking here. But for one reason or another, whether it's time or budget, you just have to let it go, and everyone just has to kind of let it go and be like, it's fine, we just have to move on. We can't afford to sit here and play with it forever.
Yeah.
So
that's like, I think that's something that's I feel like that's especially challenging with music, because like music has this this quality to it that's we all listen to music every day and we feel it. It's like an emotional thing. It's not like a concrete thing. So a lot of the times the solution is probably something you can't pinpoint. You don't know until you know. I mean, that's coming from like a non-musician.
Well, that's one of the challenges of being a film composer, is that filmmakers, your clients, are usually not musicians themselves. So you have to figure out how to speak their language, and they have to figure out how to speak your language,
Right. Yeah.
and sometimes things get lost in translation, and I'll get like the craziest notes back from directors that'll be like, they'll come back and they'll be like, this is like too sad. And it's like the most triumphant sounding piece of music I've like ever written. And I'm like, what do you mean it's too sad? Like, and you have to try and figure out like, what does that really mean when they say it's
Right.
too sad? Like, does that, it could be as simple as like, there's one instrument buried in that orchestra that is like hitting their ears not quite the right way, and they don't know how else to describe it but to say it
Right.
sounds too sad or whatever, something like that. um and that's why I try not to get too technical about music stuff when I talk to directors. Like I
Mm.
never sit there and go like, yeah, I think like a bassoon would be really good here, and maybe we do like some pizzicato, like there, like whatever, like that. I what I like to try and do with directors is focus on story and talk about the story, and that especially when you're in the spotting session, which is where you're going through the film and you're discussing what the director wants musically in different
Mhm.
parts of the film. I find that I get the most information out of the director when I talk about the story instead of the music. Like rather
Right.
than asking them, well, what music do you think you want here? I'll ask them to, I'll be like, what's in this character's head in this scene? Like,
Mm.
what is she thinking about right now? And why does she want to do the thing that, like, why is she picking up the knife right now?
Right.
You know, is it like,
Yeah.
is
Because
she trying to protect herself? Is it out of fear? Or is it out of malice because she feels like this person has wronged her? Those are the kinds of questions that you have to ask, because that kind of gets to the core of the story and the emotion, and therefore the core of the music and what the music needs to be.
that's awesome. That's super cool. Because it's like the the unspoken psychological thing you're trying to reach that isn't necessarily like in the script, but it's something deeper than that that you can bring out in the story using the music that wouldn't be there otherwise. That's really awesome.
Yeah, I think that when film scores are used appropriately or correctly, it's when they're being used to create subtext.
Right, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah,
Subtext.
that's what
That's
you want to
awesome.
aim for. At least that's what I try and aim for. You know, you don't want to just go for like the surface level of what's happening.
Hmm.
I think when composers do that is when music sounds kind of cheesy, or you just, something feels off and you don't know what it is, and usually that tends to be what it is. Like if I score a scene and the scene doesn't feel right, a lot of times it's because I'm maybe on the surface I was scoring it to, to the story, but the subtext is not matching musically with the
Mm,
story.
that's golden. That's awesome. I love that. So glad that you said that. That's like crazy. Um, do you have any advice for aspiring composers who might be listening to this right now?
Hmm.
I mean, what you just
Well,
gave was super awesome advice from a music writing perspective, but just from a career perspective.
yeah. I'll gather some thoughts here in no specific order. I mean, for one thing, I think it's important to say that I am still very early myself,
Hmm.
so I am also learning as I go. But one of the best pieces of advice that I have ever gotten in my career, or even in my life, maybe. I mean, last year I should back up slightly. I moved here because I got a job
Hmm.
working at a theatrical marketing company, which is, they do movie trailers and TV spots and things like that. And it was a music related job, and it was cool, but it wasn't composing. It was like composing adjacent, in that I got to talk to composers that did music for movie trailers, and we would then use their music in our trailers. But then when I lost, that job, and that was back in, oh my God, when was that? 2018, early 2018, I guess. I kind of gave it a shot half-heartedly at just freelancing full time. And what I realized after doing that for a couple of months was that my problem was that I didn't know enough people yet to really dive headfirst into that world.
Mm-hmm.
And financially, it was a struggle. And quite simply, I didn't pay any, like I couldn't pay my bills doing that. I barely earned any money. There were some months where I earned like $200, like the whole month.
Yeah.
Or even less sometimes. It was rough. And then last year, I was at a barbecue on Memorial Day, and then our friend Dan told me about this job at the Directors Guild that he had been in for a while, and then he left it, and they were looking for someone new. And I'm getting my way to this advice part of the story.
Yeah, take your time. I know where this is going.
Yeah, but the audience doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting back and taking it all in.
Yeah.
What was that, Chris?
I said I'm just sitting back and taking it all in. Story time.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm at this barbecue, and Dan tells me he's leaving his job, and I was telling him all about my struggles of trying to freelance and draining my savings account. And he was like, "Well, do you want my job? Because I'm leaving, and frankly, if I tell my boss that you're a good candidate, he's probably just going to straight up hire you." And I was like, honestly, I need to think about this for a minute. And it was a tough decision because the job in question has nothing to do with music at all.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're kind of faced with that choice of like, well, if I take this job, am I making a mistake? Am I stepping away from music? Am I delaying my career or like anything like that? Like all those kinds of thoughts run through your head. But then at the same time, you think, but I also can't be broke anymore, because that's not good.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to Jacob Yaffe, that composer that I worked on that show Sherwood with the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him what he thought. And he was really nice. He got on the phone with me, and we had a whole long talk. We must have talked for like an hour, it felt like, about that.
Oh, that's awesome.
But but ultimately the one big piece of advice he gave me that really stuck with me, he said, the path to being a composer, that career path, is a marathon, not a sprint. So the most important thing is to stay in the game as long as you can.
Yeah.
If you can go crazy trying to freelance, and you can be like, I'm only going to take composing jobs, I'm not going to do any other work. But if you can't pay your bills and you run out of money and you have to move back to Pennsylvania, well, then that's like it. That's the end. And there goes, you're done.
You wait for a government stimulus check.
You wait for the coronavirus to attack, and then you're good for a couple months.
But he was like, you take this job, this Directors Guild job, and then you've got health. You'll have health care. You can pay your rent, and that kind of stuff keeps me in the game, able to continue composing, while at the same time not being burdened by the stress of needing to figure out how I'm going to afford next month's rent or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And And he's like, yeah, because that's the most important thing. You just got to stay in it, keep scoring as many films as you can, because ultimately what it comes down to is you've got to stay in the game long enough that you get that one project that everyone gets at some point. That's like the project that pushes it all forward. Like whatever that
Yeah,
one film is that gets some attention at a film festival, or that director's career takes off and they bring you along with them, or something like that,
that's awesome.
or you happen to finally meet whoever that one person is that you were meant to meet, that's gonna give you an opportunity down the road.
It's so
That
much
stuff
about
can
who you
only
know.
happen if you're here.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, so I took the
Awesome.
job and here I am. It's almost
Nice.
been a year. We're coming up on a year.
Yeah. We really didn't talk about the DGA much, which is where you work now, but that's fine. Maybe we could talk about that in another episode or something
Yeah,
next time we have you on.
I could probably talk
Okay.
for a while about the DGA anyway. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, there's like lots of cool stories there. Lots of cool stories, actually.
Oh man,
Okay.
once you get into that basic agreement, it's exciting stuff.
Quick to wrap up this episode. Do you want to do a quick challenge, Connor?
Ooh, a challenge. What
Yeah,
kind of
this is. I
challenge?
I have a feeling you'll probably be really good at this challenge, because
I know I wouldn't be.
yeah, I would probably get one or two of these right. I have 10 movies here, and I'll give you like 60 seconds or whatever, however long you need. I'll tell you the name of the movie, and I want you to tell me the name of
I'm gonna give you rules, but if you don't want to follow them, that's cool.
the. So I'll tell you the name of the movie, and then I want you to tell me the name of the composer.
Oh my god, these better be movies I've seen.
I guarantee you they're all movies you've seen, and they're all names of composers you know.
Okay, we'll
Cool. Now
see.
it'll start easy and it'll get a little bit harder as we go on. I think a little bit harder.
All
Mm-hmm.
The
right.
the first
Number
one,
panel by panel.
no, that's that would be Connor Griffin.
A
um,
classic.
the first
Classic
one
scores.
is one you already mentioned, Connor, in an example you gave earlier in this podcast. The Polar Express.
Well, that's Alan Silvestri. Fantastic
Yeah,
score.
ding 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 ding.
Also, a fun fact, if you go and I don't know if it's really a fact, but if you go and you listen or you watch Elf, which
Yeah.
came out right around the same time as Polar Express, they're like within a year of each other, I think. The main theme of both of the films are so close to each other. It's borderline, I swear, someone plagiarized someone else. I don't know who it
Hmm.
was. John Debney did Elf, but
Hmm.
there's anyway. You should go
That's
check.
okay. You get a bonus point for knowing that one. Okay. You'll
Quick
know.
question.
Oh, go ahead.
Quick technical question. Are you using a Snowball, Connor? The mic?
I'm actually not right now. I'm actually just using. I'm wearing my Sony noise canceling headphones.
Okay. I was just
And I'm
curious.
using the mic from that.
Just curious. Sorry, that was off topic, but
We can cut that
Okay.
out.
Do I sound
Um,
okay?
Good
yeah,
enough.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, good enough. Okay, Harry
Okay.
Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Oh, you got to be kidding me! It's John Williams.
That was the number one on the list. That was the easiest one. Okay, now we'll get a little bit harder. Lord of the Rings.
That's Howard Shore.
You got it.
Mm-hmm.
No.
People love to talk about of those scores, Lord of the Rings, and they're like, "Oh, Lord of the Rings is like one of the best film scores ever." I think it's overrated, personally.
Oh, shots fired.
A lot of drums.
take.
A lot of doom 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 doom
Yeah,
doom.
it's like
I mean, it's so
Star
cool.
Wars
It's
is
perfect for
better.
the mood. You know,
It's perfect for the mood. If it's perfect for the
Yeah.
film.
it matches up with the images on screen very, very well. But when you separate the images, it's a lot of do.
There's Roger Deakins quoted another cinematographer whose name I don't know, who I forget, but so it's not a Roger Deakins quote, but Roger Deakins did say this in an interview about cinematography, but I think the same is true for music. He said there's good cinematography and there's bad cinematography, and then there's the cinematography that's right for the movie.
I like that.
Not to take away from Shire music, I'm pretty down with the Shire music. That's good.
Yeah, the shower music's
Pretty
good.
chill.
See,
I think that
that's the
that
thing
quote that
about
you
Lord of the
just
Rings.
said, the quote
Yeah,
that you just said exemplifies Hans Zimmer, because his music is not always the most impressive or the most listenable on its own. People like to
right.
give him a lot of crap because they're like, oh, his music is it's too loud or it's too simple. There's not like
Right.
enough going on. But Hans Zimmer is so good at paying attention to story, and that's why he's
Yeah.
successful.
I would say the same thing about Roger Deakins. He's the most well-respected cinematographers in the game, and he's been nominated countless times. But his cinematography is always simple. It's always simple lighting techniques, simple camera movement techniques, simple compositional style. Um, but it's always every choice is like for the story, and that's what makes cinematography so special. So, all right,
Yeah.
next one, Harry Potter Half Blood Prince. Let's see if you get
Harry
this one.
Potter is a fun one because the composers change 3 times. Well, there's 4 composers that worked on Harry Potter. See, I'm going to give you
Damn.
the fancy long answer to all of your questions
Oh
just
yeah,
to make
because
myself
I
sound
think
smarter.
Yeah.
that's what
Um,
my next question would be anyway. So
yeah. The first 3 Harry Potter movies are, of course, scored by the wonderful, incomparable John Williams.
I love that.
Although,
bold statement,
yeah,
incomparable.
I don't think
I
any
mean, John Williams is
composer
a
would
legend.
disagree with me on that one. Yeah, the first 3 are scored by John Williams, although the third one kind of takes a turn because how do you say his name? Alfonso Cuarón?
Uh,
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's how
pretty
you say his
good.
name. He he directed the third movie, and I think at his
Mhm.
direction, John Williams was kind of told to do something that doesn't sound like himself so much.
Mm.
yeah.
Then the fourth movie, they changed directors again, and then they brought on this guy Patrick Doyle, who's a Scottish composer.
Hmm.
I can't tell you that many things he's done, but I know he did Brave, the Pixar movie. Anyway,
Oh.
Mm.
yeah. Then they switched directors again, and David Yates directs 5 through the end of Harry Potter,
Yep.
all the rest of the movies. And David Yates brings on this guy named I think his name is Tom Hooper, or is it
Ooh, close. You
Nicholas
got the last
Hooper?
name. Yeah, Nicholas
It's
Hooper. Ding, ding,
Nicholas
ding.
Hooper. Tom Hooper is someone else. Nicholas Hooper, who was I think he was like a buddy of David Yates, and he was just like a television composer. He'd never done a feature film before, and they brought
Oh,
him in to do
wow.
Order of the Phoenix, and he was like, frankly, like pretty underqualified to do a movie of that size, and I think most composers, if you were to ask, would agree that his scores are like by far the worst in the Harry Potter
Wow.
movies. And yet they
Mm.
brought him back for
Interesting.
6 for some reason, which that was the movie that you asked me about, I think, right? Half
Yep.
Blood Prince.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did 6 as well. Who knows why they hired him again? And then Deathly Hallows, they brought on Alexandre Desplat, who is
Damn.
much more much more accomplished composer who's done a ton of stuff. I can't even think of any to name. I mean, he did Shape of Water is the one I'm thinking of right now, but
I still
um,
haven't seen that movie. Do you
yeah,
guys recommend?
I haven't seen it.
it was pretty good. I liked it. I think if you can find it on a streaming service, you should give it a watch for
I
sure.
wonder if it's on
Yeah,
HBO.
it feels like it would
Cool.
be. But anyway, that's the long answer to get back to Nicholas Hooper scored Half Blood
Awesome.
Prince.
I was actually going to ask you about Deathly Hallows too. So you're getting so many bonus points right now. Okay, next one. These are, I feel like, all easy for you. I literally picked movies I knew that you've seen and the movies whose soundtracks you've avidly listened to. So,
Well, that's good because it
Nightmare
makes me look smarter.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
That's Danny Elfman. Danny
Yeah.
Elfman has scored, I think, just about every Tim Burton film that he's ever done. Although actually, Tim Burton did not direct Nightmare Before Christmas.
No,
Oh,
he did
Um,
really?
not.
Henry
He
Selick
produced it,
directed
right?
it.
Oh, dang.
Yeah,
Um,
at least yeah, Henry Selick is like the guy that he did Coraline, I think.
Mm-hmm.
ooh,
Coraline's amazing.
yeah, but
Yeah,
it's hard for me to watch because it's so creepy.
Yeah, but just like the art style is just incredible,
it's
Yeah.
like I
like
love
mind
those
blowing.
films. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we have 4 left.
All right.
Um, I'm trying to figure out which order I should do them in, which is the easiest to the hardest. Okay, let's do Avatar, the James
Mm.
Cameron Avatar.
Oh, that Avatar.
Yep.
Um, Avatar is scored by James Horner, the late
Yeah.
James Horner. He
Aw.
yeah, he worked with James Cameron a couple times. He also did Titanic,
Yep.
and he passed away in a plane crash a couple of years ago, which
Whoa.
was very sad. That was like a big loss for the film music community.
I feel like I remember you telling me that when that happened. Yeah, that
Yeah,
sucks.
he was one of my favorite composers too.
Damn. Um, trying to figure out of the next 3, which is the okay. American Beauty.
Oh, American Beauty is Thomas Newman.
Yeah.
He's of the Newman film music dynasty, so to speak. His I think it's cousin, is Randy Newman, like
Hey,
AKA
baby,
Toy Story,
dad,
and like
dad, 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 dad.
you got a pretty me. That's his cousin.
He just performed at the Oscars, did he not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did. He did because of Toy Story 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
But so they're
The
cousin,
Newman legend lives on.
and then they
Dude,
also his I think his brother is I'm forgetting his first name. It's not Dave. I think it's David Newman is his brother, and David Newman is like he oftentimes conducts the LA Philharmonic at the Hollywood Bowl all the time.
oh wow.
Yeah, and
It's a whole family of musicians.
he hosts the every year they do a film music thing in September, which we should go to this year, by the way. Now that you guys are here,
Okay.
John Williams always shows up and conducts some stuff at the end. Um, but yeah, David
Cool.
Newman, and then
Do you,
Alfred
do you think
Newman.
everything will be open by September?
We'll
Oof.
see. We'll see. We'll have to play it by ear. But yeah, and their grandpa Alfred Newman is the guy that wrote the 20th Century Fox, like bum 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 bum
Wow.
bum bum, bum, like way back in like 1930. I
Is
don't know.
Disney still using that?
I think so. Yeah. I
That
mean
sounds right.
now the studio is called 20th Century Studios, but
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
they took Fox out of it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, 2 more left. Let's do The Village. Do you know who scored The Village?
Of course I do. The
No
Village
googling.
is I don't Googling. The Village is scored by James Newton Howard. He's a
Yeah.
fantastic composer. He's one of my favorites, and I also kind of I don't want to like toot my own horn, but I think that my style sometimes sounds a little bit like him,
That's not tooting
at
your own
least in
horn. That's
certain
just
films.
yeah. We just have our
So yeah,
inspirations. That's all.
he works with M. Night Shyamalan. He's done like
Yes.
basically all of Shyamalan's films, and a lot of times he's like the only good thing about the film because the score for The Village is amazing, but the
More shots
movie is
fired.
like not exactly anything special. Same with Lady in the
Okay.
Water.
Very last one. I'm pretty sure you've seen this movie, and I've never really talked to you about this composer before, but he is a pretty legit, super mainstream composer. Anyway, I won't give you
Okay.
any more hints. Cinema Paradiso.
Oh no, this is a tough
So
one.
this is a little more on like the fringe of filmmaking, but like I'm
I
pretty
mean,
sure you've seen it,
I've
right? I
seen
thought.
Cinema Paradiso. We watched it in film school.
Okay, so
Um,
I'll give you one hint, which is this composer, well, I won't say anything about the composer, but I'll say that it's probably important that Cinema Paradiso is an Italian film.
I already know the answer. I'm pretty sure I know the answer because I was about to ask you, is the composer Italian?
Okay.
It's got to
Who
be
is it?
like Ennio Morricone or something, right?
Yeah, dude, you got them all.
Because that's the only Italian composer that you would know the name of.
Yeah.
And then you would recognize as being famous.
Yeah. So Ennio, well, actually, why don't you tell everybody like Ennio Morricone what he usually scores?
Well, I got to be totally honest. I mean, he's not someone that I'm as familiar with, other than knowing that he's very famous. But I do know that he is mostly known for his westerns.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
I think he's very old now, but he actually kind of like borderline came out of retirement to work with Tarantino on The Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
That was like a big deal that he did that.
I think he did. Actually, no, I'm not sure if he did Once Upon a Time in Los Angeles. I forget. But yeah, he did Hateful Eight.
I don't think there's a score for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
There's a soundtrack.
Yeah. Most Tarantino films don't have scores. But Hateful Eight was like an exception.
I thought there was like one more that he did.
Kill Bill.
Did he do Kill Bill?
Kill Bill has a score, doesn't it?
I'm looking up his IMDb now because I forget. I thought he did another film with Tarantino, but maybe I'm wrong.
Kill Bill has a score.
But yeah, he did Hateful Eight.
I mean, that's a beautiful score.
Yeah. Cool. Well, you got literally
at least songs, beautifully composed, like orchestral songs.
And not only did you get every single one of them, but you had little tidbits to tell us about each one, which is super cool. So 10 out of 10.
I know that's like a grand slam.
Yeah, that's insane. I don't know.
Can you confirm that you were not given these questions beforehand?
I can confirm that I was not given these questions beforehand.
There it is. There it is.
Out my bedroom window this entire time. So
there you have it.
Awesome. I think that's a great place to wrap up. Connor, it's been really fun having you and hearing all about your work.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for giving me a distraction from the pandemic.
So what's your website? Where can people find your work?
You can go to connorgriffinmusic.com. And I like to just give people that because generally that's like the launching point for everything else.
Yeah,
You'll find all that you would ever want to know, or all the links you'd ever want to click on from there.
Did you make your site with Squarespace?
I did, yeah. Sponsored by Squarespace.
Nice. No. Well, Neuway is Squarespace, but I'm still like my Chris Murray film website is still running off WordPress. It's still just coded off WordPress.
Really?
Yeah, you should change it.
ChrisMurrayFilm.com.
We have time now that we're all in quarantine. You should.
Ooh, you gotta put some work into this.
I know it's been pretty stagnant.
Cool. Chris, you want to send us off?
What's that?
You want to send us off?
Sure. Yeah. I did have one other question, but you know what? We'll save that for another podcast because I think that could be a very long topic.
Oh, okay.
So that's all I got then. Yeah, that was really interesting. Nice seeing and hearing you. You should come on just as like a guest, just to be on. You don't even have to talk about you or music, just to be on as a guest.
I'd be open to it. I'm not doing too much else right now.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm working from home, and
how is that? Are you on like a full, like, how do you like do your hours? Are you on like a 9 to 5 or?
Yeah, well, I'll keep
it
brief since we want to, we want to get our listeners off here, but get them off the podcast. But the guild sent everybody home like 3 weeks ago. We all took our work computers with us, So I literally
Mhm.
have like this Windows like desktop HP thing sitting here next to my Mac Mini with like a separate mouse and keyboard. Um, and I just like I wake up in the morning, I clock in. There's like you go on the ADP website and you clock in. I do my
Oh,
thing,
okay.
clock out in the evening, and yeah,
Nice.
and that's kind of it.
So
I'll
you're
tell
you're
you,
you're lucky enough or unlucky enough to still work during this pandemic.
I would definitely say lucky enough, personally.
I know. I would love to have the income stream.
Yeah, no, it's good. I'm very thankful, and yeah,
We,
it's all good.
me and Brendan literally started Neuway Media in February, and then like went right into COVID.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's been
Great
interesting.
start.
Well,
And like
anyway,
another thing is because our business is so fresh and new, like I don't even know if we qualify for any of this government relief for small business or any of that, you know?
I'm
Because
pretty
we haven't
sure.
we
Yeah, we don't,
mm,
well
because you need like
the
18 months of income to report, and if it's not high enough,
oh
then
that's 18 months of income is for unemployment.
so that's not for an LLC.
No, like that's so there's like the PPP, which is like this payroll protection program. That one's based off like if you, it's like a loan that if you use it for payroll or rent or utilities, then it's like portion of it forgivable or 8 weeks of that's forgivable. Just like handoff money for small businesses, and then other one is like an emergency disaster relief fund, and that one is just like you apply for it and it's like first come first serve, and if you're approved you do have to show like 1 year of your annual income from I think January 31 2020 to February 1st or February 31, it might be, or maybe it's
mm.
January 31 actually, yeah, because it'd be 1 full year,
Huh.
and that's like 10 grand
Oh,
if you
that's
get it,
the grand
and
one.
that's just completely forgivable.
Right. Yeah, yeah, I've heard about that one.
So you could do that one as a sole proprietor, 1099 freelancer as well.
Right. Yeah, yeah. One of my friends told me about that. Cool. Good to know.
Now I don't take this as I'm not illegal, you know. This
Yeah.
is things I'm learning and reading on the SBA.gov website.
Uh,
Like now that we're a small business, just trying to keep up with all this stuff is like kind of crazy.
yeah.
But
It never ends.
Mhm.
cool. So everything's cool. The
Yeah,
industry's going crazy. These movies keep getting pushed back. All right, we gotta close this out.
we can just cut this whole last chunk out if we want.
No, leave it in. It's good info.
Leave it.
Chris, you're playing
Good
Animal
info.
Crossing, right?
Not enough. No, like so here's the thing. This guy, you go to
gotta
this
get
island,
on
right?
it
Leave
so
this
that
in. Don't cut this out. There's people playing this damn game. So, and the world needs to hear this. So you land on this damn island, right? And
Mhm.
you're not aware of it. They tell you, I mean, you should be aware of it. This is like the housing crisis right here. Because you show up on this island, this dude's asking you for like how much? Like 50 grand. He's like, "Yo, that trip, I guess you arrived to the island thinking it's a free ride to this island because you show up and he's like, you owe me 50 grand. We didn't tell you about it. I don't know why money wasn't spoken of beforehand.
Mhm.
And so you owe this 50 grand. You got to work for it. You're living in a tent in the meantime. So you pay it off. Is it 5 grand or 50 grand?
It's 5 grand, but just wait until you get further in the game because he finds
Oh,
ways
yeah,
to,
well,
to,
it's
to
like
do more money.
miles. He has this mile pyramid scheme thing he's got going on.
Yeah,
So
he's like you owe me like $40,000, but you know what? I'll let you pay it off with my rewards points instead.
yeah, I think I'm getting the amounts screwed up because I think the house is like 50 grand maybe or something. But so I have my tent. I paid off his little debt or his dumb debt for me getting transported to this like cool island that I'm at.
Mhm.
I'm trying to make friends, but I often only play at night. That's my problem. I'm getting on at night. Things are kind of like, it's cool, but the town's kind of like, they're dying down.
Well, how
So I
long
need to
have you
get
been
more day
playing? Because
play
like
in.
I've been playing for like a week now, and my island is like just starting to pick up steam, and like now it's like getting going.
Yeah, I need to put more time in. I honestly, literally just paid off everything. So I have my tent. This dude wants me immediately. I pay it off. He wants me to enter a home loan.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, all right. So I didn't fall for it. I was like, look, I'm living in my tent. I got the hookup. I'm gonna collect my apples is what I have.
Mm,
So I'm gonna collect my apples,
I got
and
pears.
I think I have apples, or maybe I have oranges. Pretty sure they're
Ooh,
apples.
if you have peaches, I need peaches, by the way.
Let me see what I got. I'll let you know.
Here's
That's
here's
how
what's got to
infrequent I'm
happen.
playing right
When
now.
once we're off at some point this evening after the podcast, we gotta talk because I gotta you have to come visit my island at
I'll come
least
check it out.
once in order
How
for
can
me
I
to
get
add
there?
you as a
Are we
friend.
practicing social distancing in Animal Crossing?
We're good in Animal Crossing. There's no COVID
Okay.
in there.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but
Well,
you gotta
yet.
fly over at least
My
once,
one
and then I
neighbor's a
can
little
add
sketchy. I
you.
don't trust him.
Well, come over and visit so I can add you to my friends list in the game. That's what I'm trying to say.
Great.
I can't add you unless
Great.
you show up. So
Ooh, you should play around in the music thing and make some tunes for us, and then I could take the tunes and put them in my town. And if
I
you don't know
will
about
once
that,
I
look into it.
unlock that. I haven't unlocked it yet.
Yeah, that looks awesome. And I know you could come up with stuff. That'll be fun for you.
Oh, it will
You
be.
could create the soundtrack for our towns.
Whoa, that's cool.
Yeah. No,
And
there's a lot going on in this game.
well, so this dude wants me to enter in this home loan right away, and I'm like, nope, I'm not falling for it. I'm saving. I'm waiting till I have at least 30% down payment saved up. I'm playing it responsibly.
Are you putting
So
in
once
your savings account?
I'm not even
Trey?
kidding. I'm saving up 30% down payment, and then I'll go into this little home loan pyramid scheme because I know it's only going to get worse. I know it's a snowball spiral
Oh yeah, I'm up.
with this
My
guy.
new one's 98,000
Shoo!
that I got to pay off because I increased the size of my house.
Oh yeah.
And
I'm
that's
still
just
tent
the
life.
beginning.
I'm taking the Brendan approach. If I could live in a box, I would.
Chris, I feel like you're playing this game, Chris, like someone were to get on GTA and follow the speed limit.
No, dude. This
You do, but
no, you
Brendan,
play.
in this game, you have a savings account. You can put money into your
What?
savings account,
Yeah.
separate from what you carry around.
Who wants to get on a game and play real
dude.
life?
This I know that's
in real
what
life.
you think. But imagine a simulation, but the world you're in, everything's just awesome and cool and happy.
Yeah.
It's the magic's there. It's very relaxing
There's
and
no
therapeutic.
pandemic. You just listen to the breeze going through the leaves on the trees.
It's like if the real world was just yoga and meditation.
Whoa.
Yeah.
With a few pyramid schemes.
Now,
And
Chris, here's what you got to keep an eye out for as well. Tomorrow on Sunday, the turnips are a thing.
okay,
So
I'll come and get them. The Easter Bunny I hear is hopping around. I haven't been in since the Easter Bunny showed up.
Just forget about the Easter Bunny. But on Sunday mornings, this lady shows up on the island and she sells turnips. And the price of the turnips varies in each person's game. And then you can buy them from her and you sell them to the store, and the price that the store buys them for, from you for, fluctuates each day through the week. So it's like a stock market.
God, there's a market. Yeah,
it's like a stock market. So you buy, you find the lowest turnip price among your friends' islands on Sunday morning. You go to their island, you buy as many as you can, and then throughout the week, you find the highest price and you sell them and you make a ton of money.
This is on the Switch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get it, Brendan?
I mean, my roommates have a Switch, but I'm not about to start buying games for it.
Here's what you do,
the
Brendan.
Switch and then
Here's
the
what
game.
you do. Buy the cartridge and then you can just sell it later.
Yeah. Trust me, this game will not lose much resale value.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super popular. Everyone's playing it.
Very popular. Dude, there's a Switch edition of it that's going for over $500. It's crazy.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, Anna
that's
has
not how much it's sold for. That's the resale. She has it?
Yeah, she got it before, all the Switches were sold out. My sister wants to get a Switch and she can't because all the Switches and Switch Lites are sold out everywhere right now.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I imagine it'll be pretty hard to pick it up. Because I'd have to order it online, not about to go into a store to buy it.
Well, I
want to try and get Paige into playing it or trying it. No, I don't have a mask.
My grandma sewed one and she sent it to me and I got it. So I'm I'm rocking the mask.
I don't have
now.
one. I gotta go find one. I gotta go find
I'm about to go.
some
I'm
business
gonna go.
online that's doing good things, that's hustling them off and doing partial charity or something.
Yeah, I'm about to go
Someone's
put the
making them.
mask on right after this, and I'm gonna go walk around the block and get some air.
Nice.
Yeah. So what's the deal with that? Are we allowed to do that, or do we have to have a destination in mind? Like I know before it was like, yeah, exercise, but now it's
Well, it's
like,
probably
are we
easier
still
for
allowed to
me
do that?
because
Because
where I live, I can walk through like the residential neighborhoods and just
I
kind of,
mean,
and we don't
I
encounter that
still
many
can.
people.
No, Chris, you're allowed to be on the sidewalk.
You're
No one's saying
definitely
you can't
allowed to
be on
go
the
for
sidewalk.
walks.
Yeah.
Good. I
Yeah.
mean, I do. I
Yeah.
do. Little urban hikes,
But
but
they
I was just
definitely are
hoping.
encouraging masks now.
Well, I see like everyone like freaking out. They're like, if you're not getting any necessities, like do not go out. And I'm just like, but yeah, like I'm taking the precautions and everything.
No,
But
they're
I still
talking about
want to.
people who are like pulling into
I don't want to
stores
be like selfish,
to buy some
I don't want people to
flowers.
be like,
Yeah, it's okay to go for a walk around your neighborhood, but like what I basically am doing is I go for a walk every day around my neighborhood now, but
mm-hmm,
if someone's approaching me on the sidewalk and I'm able to, I'll step out onto the street a little bit just to like I take a wide, like a
Yeah.
wide distance around people and then I get back on the sidewalk. So I like keep a distance. And starting today now, I'll have a mask that I'll put on. And otherwise, I only leave the house for food, like to go to the grocery store or to pick up from a restaurant that I ordered food.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
otherwise, I'm staying home.
I just made a video today about like the schedule, my schedule, or my wannabe schedule. I try to follow it, but I'm not succeeding all the way. But that's what my video is about, is like how to stay productive, but like also compartmentalize your day up so it's not just all one thing. But this is kind of more made for people that aren't working.
Is that,
You have
are you putting
Yeah,
this on
it's
Neuway Media or your personal?
I'm not sure yet, honestly.
Okay.
I have it edited. I just have to throw graphics on and then probably release it Monday.
Cool. I mean, yeah, whichever one you feel like you want to put it on.
Yeah, I know. It's weird now because I want everything to go through Neuway. But then I also don't want my other channel to die, so then I'm just like I don't know how to like separate the content.
Yeah, I'm still
So like
working
the
on
last thing
it.
I did was for Neuway, and yeah, I don't know.
I'm sort of at least
Maybe I need to sacrifice my personal account, but that one has the traffic right now in
No, yeah.
comparison.
You don't need to sacrifice it. I'm not sacrificing my personal account, but like it's just I'm changing the content that I put on both. So now like most of the film education stuff is still going to be on my personal thing, but there's certain film education things I'll put on New Way. But and then when it comes to like gear reviews and stuff, like real technical stuff for cinematographers, that's going to go on my personal. But then when it comes to like behind the scenes and podcasts and like things like that, like that's going to go on New Way.
Cool.
So yeah, anyway.
And on that note, that's the pod.
This is the longest episode we've had so far. Congratulations.
I think we could do this more frequently.
We definitely should.
We should just have you on as like a rotating local guest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can chat about stuff that's not music. I mean, I can talk about the guild.
Just
I can
anything.
talk about moving to LA. We could talk about film.
We could just
school.
talk about what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
We could talk about a movie we saw. But okay, cool, sweet, successful.
All right.
And very informative. If anyone's interested in music, they definitely would have learned something today, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks again, Connor. See you guys.
Thanks for having me. Bye, guys.
Later.
Cool.